Alright, today I am going to teach you guys how to beat Bison. This guy right here. I haven't done one of these videos in this style for a while. I used to make these, like, right after every single DLC character came out. I did, like, a how to counter them video. But I didn't do one for Akuma, because I didn't really have much to say about the Akuma matchup. You know, Akuma's a Shoto, and so there's not really a whole lot of, like, gimmicks to break down with Akuma, really. So I skipped Akuma, and then I forgot to do Bison, so I'm a little bit late. This one took a while to come out, but hopefully it's useful now. I'll give you the rundown on, like, the common mistakes I see people making against this character, and how to counter them, that kind of thing. So, number one, Devil's Reverse and Head Stomp. This is probably the single biggest thing that I've seen people struggling with. And this seems to be happening at all levels of play as well. This move right here. I have seen low-level, mid-level, and high-level players all struggling so much to anti-air this and then getting hit like that. Just Bison players just taking to the sky and then getting in for free. So a lot of people get this move wrong. They don't really understand how it works, and it's kind of a strange move where you need to unlearn sort of traditional Street Fighter muscle memory, right? So I'm just going to switch around to the Bison side real quick. Unlike every previous Street Fighter game, if you just do head stomp in this game, or you do the jump, Bison doesn't actually do an attack. It's not like every previous Street Fighter where down up kick is head stomp and then you can press punch to do Devil's Reverse. You have to actually commit to a follow-up in this game. So like, if you press nothing, he just jumps. There's no hitbox attached to it. If you press punch, he does Devil's Reverse, and if you press kick, he does stomp. So, what you need to do when you see Bison take to the sky with this move is you need to do nothing. That's the trick. You need to do nothing up until the point that you see him transition into a different animation. The mistake that everyone makes is they treat this like a normal jump in. So they see Bison jumping towards them, and then when he reaches the typical point in the arc where you would normally press an anti-air in a regular jump in, they're pressing. And that will get you killed, because if you treat this like a normal anti-air timing, it's like perfectly designed to like screw you up. It'll make your DPs whiff and stuff. Your anti-airs will whiff. So you don't want to do that. You want to completely ignore this move and just wait until the moment that you see him transition to a follow-up and then do your anti-air. That's the key difference here. I see so many people pressing their anti-air way too early because they're scared of the approach. But you don't need to do anything until you see him switch from the basic jump into one of the follow-ups. So the next layer of the mix-up is probably you're wondering, well, what if he just does stomp here instead of Devil's Reverse? It actually doesn't matter. So in this game, again, kind of unusual for Bison, they've made it so that whiffing head stomp actually has tons of grounded recovery. I'm holding up right here after landing from the head stomp. Look how long it takes before Bison is actionable again for. So he can't really bait you into doing an anti-air and then punish, because even if you do that, you see, after whiffing the heavy kick here, I'm plus 10. Even if your anti-air whiffs, obviously it depends on the anti-air a lot. I would recommend using normals rather than like a DP. I actually think normals are better to anti-air this thing. DPs are more risky, but if you have a decent anti-air normal, or even like a serviceable anti-air normal, I would recommend doing that. Because you'll almost always recover first. And sometimes you can even get a punish if he tries to bait your anti-air. Yeah, there we go. So, like, this is a good example that, like, even if you fuck up and you get hit by the stomp, he actually still needs to come down with the follow-up, and it doesn't knock you down either unless it punish counters. So, you still get a second chance to anti-air sometimes, even if you mess up the first one. Like that. So, I actually think head stomp is not a very good approach in this game. It's quite risky. And I should also add, just keep in mind that if you anti-air head stomp, it also puts the opponent in a forced knockdown state. So you can even get like huge juggles from this, depending on your character. Which is pretty neat. But yeah, but the main takeaway I would say is just basically don't worry about head stomp until you see him transition into one of the follow-ups, because there's no threat up until that point. Up next up, we're going to talk about scissors. So scissors is a very degenerate move in this game. I'm sure you guys all know that by now. So light and medium scissors are -5 on block, but as you can see there, they do a shitload of pushback. Heavy kick scissors is only -4. It's worth spending some time in the lab, like trying to discern which animation is which, because some characters have a long range 5 frame, but they don't necessarily have a long range 4 frame. So it's good to like do drills to try and make sure that you can recognize the difference between like medium kick and heavy kick scissors on block. And so what you want to do with this, you need to learn when fighting against this move how to recognize the distance where it's punishable and the distance where it's not punishable. Because even though it is -5, a lot of the time this will happen. And in the case of Aki, I can't punish from there. And even worse than that is this will happen. That. You recognize the scissors, you try and press your punish, you're a tiny bit too far away and you get punish counted afterwards. It's kind of a scary spacing trap. You might lose the entire round off that. So I would recommend doing drills where you just sort of like record the scissors and then just sort of wiggle around a little bit and try and consistently get the punish counter if you're in range to punish, like this, but then also recognize not to press when you're a little bit too far away. You can still press, but the other thing that you can do here that's quite useful to know is after you block the scissors, you can press a normal that's anything up to 9 frames startup. If you've got like a long range 8 or 9 frame move, that's also a very good follow-up here because it won't punish the scissors, but it will kind of lock Bison down and it's very difficult for him to try and steal a turn back afterwards if you do that. So this, for example, is Aki's best option. If I press stand heavy kick here, it will hit him if he tries to like put me in a spacing trap. It's not an actual punish, but it can be a good way to like reverse the mix-up. You can also do some preemptive stuff. Like if you know the Bison player is going to autopilot scissors, you can always just like neutral jump and stuff. DI is an option. But those are mostly just guesses. Alright, number 3, defending against the bomb. This is another thing that I think a lot of people get wrong, unless they've actually played Bison. Like, one of the reasons that I recommend playing a DLC character for a bit when they first come out is that you start to understand, like, the gaps in their pressure and their game plan. So one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people who've never actually played Bison themselves haven't realized that all the different versions of Bison's bomb plant have completely different Oki afterwards. I think a lot of people assume that, like, the light version is basically the same as the heavy version, but they're actually completely different. If Bison does, say, jab short bomb plant like this, if you're mid-screen and he does this, it's actually not very scary. Like, I see a lot of players getting away with fake strings, like I see this a lot from Bison players. They'll put the light bomb on you and then go in for like a drive rush crouch medium punch. This is super fake. If they put the light bomb on you, you can usually just wake up 4 frame to catch the drive rush. Medium and heavy bomb have better Oki. Heavy bomb in particular is one to look out for. And the way to recognize which version of bomb they've used is usually which normal they cancel into it. So if they do stand medium punch into bomb or crouch heavy punch into bomb, those are the only 2 normals that Bison has which will naturally combo into the heavy bomb. So you need to look out for those 2 because that one actually does give very good Oki. Even mid-screen, if you get the heavy bomb on you, he can do this, which is like an actual meaty. And you will die if you get hit by this stand fist. That is like game over. So you need to pay close attention to what version of the bomb they're putting on you, if it's mid-screen. But in the corner, things get a bit trickier, because now he doesn't need to like drive rush in to get Oki afterwards. So one thing you can do is, if you have the bomb planted on you, and your opponent tries to do the second bomb to give themselves plus frames like this. This is a thing you'll see Bison players do very often. They'll put the bomb on you, and then they'll do something like a heavy into heavy bomb. And this is really nasty, because this does a ton of drive gauge damage, and it's +6 on block for the Bison player. It's very nasty. The best thing I would recommend for this is that if you see this cancel, you do get a guaranteed drive reversal. It can be quite expensive in terms of the drive cost. You can just wait until you see the bomb and then just drive reversal on the first hit, and there's nothing Bison can do to mitigate that. It is guaranteed. The other thing about the other corner pressure I would look out for is pay attention to when Bison puts the medium bomb on you in the corner, which will almost always be from crouch medium punch. So if you see a combo like this, if you see that, if you see him end a corner combo with crouch medium punch bomb, you need to be looking for the overhead, because if you guys don't know, medium punch bomb gives him an auto-timed meaty overhead afterwards, which can be very nasty. So you'll see a setup like this quite often, and if you get hit by the overhead, you are going to explode. So you can do stuff like that. So, like I said, just pay close attention to which version of bomb they're doing, because you can't get an auto-timed meaty overhead from light or heavy bomb, it's only medium. So if you see the medium bomb get put on you, you need to be looking out for the overhead. And you can even, if you're looking out for it and you're prepared for it, you can actually also perfect parry it on reaction. And then if you see it come out, try and go for the perfect parry. Because if you do, you just instantly exit the situation. Oh yeah, the last thing I'll say about like common corner pressure to look out for with the bomb, you'll see this quite often as well. This is another very common Bison mix-up. Bison players will put the bomb on you, then they'll go for a meaty throw, and then after this meaty throw, you need to be ready for the high-low, because they almost always do this follow-up afterwards. Doing the throw here kills the right amount of frames that the bomb will detonate if they do drive rush medium punch into the target combo, and they can go high or low here. The nice thing is, this mix-up is actually completely fake. So if you see him go for any version of the target combo here, you don't actually need to react to the high-low. You can just parry. And it will protect you against the overhead and the low, which is nice. You can even go for a perfect parry if you're feeling stylish. So yeah, those are the common kind of like corner set play to look out for. Up next, I'm going to do a little quick talk about how to beat EX Psycho Crusher. This is advice mostly for if you're playing a fireball character. You don't see EX Psycho Crusher that much against other characters, but it's very good in fireball matchups. So yeah, EX Psycho Crusher, if you guys don't already know, is a very good anti-projectile move. It's fast, it covers a lot of ground, it's safe on block even if they mistime it or if they don't punish a fireball, and it leaves them outside of throw range. So you can't throw him after this. The thing you got to keep in mind is that EX Crusher is a charge move. And that means that you've got to pay attention to what Bison is doing a lot of the time and think about his charge timings. Because if you're in neutral against a Bison and he's doing this, and then you see him do this, if you see that, if you see him move forward, even just for a split second, and then go back to crouch block, you know you are now cleared to throw a fireball. Because he can't charge in time to get the next one. So even just tiny forward movements like this will kill his charge, which means that you are much more safe to throw a fireball. So that's the first thing to say. And the other thing to say is that a lot of people don't realize that EX Psycho Crusher actually doesn't go full screen. It goes almost full screen, but it doesn't actually quite go full screen. So if you are at like absolute max range, this doesn't actually punish. I've got a lot of mileage out of just throwing fireball from full screen and then just walking back out of the EX Crusher and getting a full punish. This has worked for me a lot. Okay, and I guess the last thing I'll go over is a couple of normals to look out for, because we've mostly just talked about his special moves. So the two main ways that Bison's going to give himself plus frames, the two plus on block normals he has are stand heavy punch and back heavy kick. These are like his two best pressure normals. The thing to keep in mind is that both of these normals are only +1 on block. They are not the privileged +2. In this game, there's a big difference in utility between being +1 and +2. Being +1 is not enough to get a tick throw afterwards. It does give you advantage, but if your opponent presses a 4 frame, you will actually get counter hit. So just keep in mind when you're defending against Bison, that if he does something like this, you can always jab interrupt and get a counter hit. So his tick throws are actually a little bit sketchy because he has to take risks on +1s. I'm not saying just mash 24/7, because he obviously can do like this. You know, he can punish you for mashing, but it's just good to keep in mind that +1 is not as threatening as +2. A lot of Bisons like to do this as well. This is another very common thing that I see. They'll do drive rush back heavy kick into back heavy kick. And once again, this is not real. Drive rush back heavy kick is only +5 on block, and this is a 10 frame normal. So again, if you know your opponent is going to go for a string like this to try and keep the plus frames going, you can actually just interrupt with a jab. It's not real. But again, just to stress, I'm not saying mash when Bison is +5 on block. I'm just saying be careful for Bison players trying to like artificially extend their pressure sequences. So I mentioned stand heavy punch a second ago, that's also plus. This one has a lot more range. But the thing about stand heavy punch is that it has lots of range, but it also does surprisingly huge amounts of pushback on block. Like, I don't think a lot of people know this, but it's actually very hard for Bison to lock you down after like a spaced stand heavy punch, even if he presses his fastest normals. If you get clipped by like a long distance stand fierce in neutral, you can usually get out of the situation afterwards with a backdash. So again, just something to be aware of that will help you on defense. And that's most things I had to cover. I guess I'll just open this up to chat before we finish up. Is there any like burning questions you guys have about Bison stuff? I noticed he gets a pretty nasty burnout block string with the target combo. Any suggestions to stop it? That is a good question. That one's actually fake. I've seen this a lot too. Bison has a kind of fake burnout string that a lot of people are getting away with right now, where he does this. So first of all, as you saw there, it does keep pushing you backwards the more reps he does. But also, I think him doing jab into stand medium punch is actually fake. I think the jab to medium punch is fake, yeah. So it's kind of scary to take your turn here when they're doing jab into target combo. But he actually can't do any light into stand medium punch, even in burnout, and have it be a frame trap. You can actually jab in that gap. But you got to be ready for it. Don't try and jab in this gap, because that's the one that will get you killed. After jab, he can't go into stand medium punch. Anyway, hopefully that helps you guys. Gives you a little bit more direction of how to deal with this character. Because I feel like he's definitely giving people a lot of grief right now. And he's quite frustrating to fight against. A lot of people are just kind of doing stuff with Bison. So, yeah, I hope that's useful for you guys. And I will see you all in the next video.